They say the scariest stories are the ones that really happened. Here are 8 short horror stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more. Story 1. They say in the 1970s, a man was hired to entertain kids at birthday parties. He called himself Pogo the Clown. He made balloon animals, told jokes, and everyone laughed. But then, children started to disappear. Years later, they found a crawl space beneath his house, and there, they discovered the truth. His real name was John Wayne Gacy. He wasn't a clown, he was a monster. Story 2. They say this story is true, from a hospital in the Philippines. During the night shift in the ICU, a nurse named Edison pressed the emergency alarm. He said he saw a woman standing beside the patient's bed. When the staff rushed in, there was no one there, but every patient described the same thing. Long black hair, pale face, wearing a white gown, and her feet were soaked in blood. Later that night, one of the patients flatlined. The nurse ran back into the room and saw her standing in the corner. Security footage showed the woman entering the ICU, but never leaving. They say she was a patient who died during surgery and never left. Story 3. They say somewhere in Serbia, a woman appears at night, dancing in the middle of the street. Locals call her the dancing lady. One night, a man saw her dancing alone in the middle of the street at 3 a.m. She moved like a puppet, her arms twisting, her legs bending the wrong way. He started recording. Then she stopped. She turned her head slowly and stared straight at him. That's when she screamed and ran at him full speed. The video and the phone hitting the ground. Story 4. They say in the United States, there's a bridge haunted by a man dressed as a bunny. They call him the Bunny Man. In the 1970s, couples used to park near the Colchester overpass. One night, their car windows shattered. A man in a bunny costume stood outside holding a massive axe. Police searched for him, but no one was ever found. Years later, teenagers dared each other to visit the bridge at midnight. Some disappeared. Others came back, different. They say if you go there on Halloween night, you'll hear heavy breathing. And just before a whisper says, Story 5. They say it happened in a forgotten village, deep in Peru. Sister Doretta found a wooden box outside the convent. No name, no note, just a spiral carved into the lid and a faint scent of sulfur. She took it in, called it Perrin. Then the whispers started. Candles went out. Crucifixes flipped upside down. Nuns woke with scratches they couldn't explain. And Perrin just sat there, watching, never blinking. When it spoke in Latin, backwards, they called in Father Belasco a disgraced exorcist. For 3 nights, the convent shook with screams and fire. On the 4th morning, only silence. The nuns were gone. Perrin vanished. They say, if you see a spiral near your doorstep, don't open the box. Story 6. They say out in the deserts of New Mexico, there's something that walks at night. Locals call it the skinwalker. It can look like anyone you know, your friend, your mother, even you. One night, a man was driving home through the canyon. He saw someone standing in the road, waving him down. It looked just like his brother. But when he stopped, the thing smiled and its mouth kept stretching wider. He drove away and never looked back. They say, if you hear your own voice calling your name, don't answer. Story 7. It started in 2016 across small towns in America. People began seeing clowns, not the funny kind, the kind that stood in the dark, just watching. One night, a man was walking home from work. He saw a clown standing under a streetlight, holding a balloon. The clown waved. The man laughed, pulled out his phone, and started recording. Then the clown pulled out a knife. The man ran. He didn't stop until he heard footsteps right behind him. They say police searched for hours but never found the clown, only the phone, still recording. Story 8. A 15-year-old girl named Sabrina was home alone one night when there was a knock at her front door. Her parents weren't supposed to be back until the following Monday, and she wasn't expecting any guests. She went to the front door to ask who's there, and an unfamiliar male voice said back, Sabrina, there's been an accident. Your father's in the hospital. At first, Sabrina was about to open the door but stopped herself and asked, first, who is this? The voice on the other side said, it's a friend of your father's. Sabrina asked what her father's name was, and the man responded correctly, still showing caution. Sabrina went to call her her father as the man at the door repeatedly knocked when Sabrina's father picked up, sounding completely fine. There was no accident. The knocks had stopped and Sabrina's father called the police, but the unknown man was gone. Whoever it was someone who had some kind of intel on the family from their names, down to the fact that Sabrina was alone. The family never found out who the man was. It was almost midnight when Ethan's car broke down at the edge of Hollow Road. His phone battery was dead, the air was cold, and the only light came from the moon. He saw an old wooden house at the end of the road. Windows broken, but a faint orange glow flickered inside. Desperate for help, he walked toward it. Every step he took made the ground crunch under his shoes. When he reached the porch, the front door was already open, just slightly. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. Inside, the smell was terrible, a mix of wet wood and something metallic. The walls were covered in old photos. Families smiling, but their eyes scratched out. He tried to call again. "Is anyone here?" From upstairs, a voice answered. But it wasn't a voice. It was his own. "Ethan," it whispered, "come upstairs." He froze. His own name, in his own voice. They say in the 1970s, a man was hired to entertain kids at birthday parties. He called himself Pogo the Clown. He made balloon animals, told jokes, and everyone laughed. But then, children started to disappear. Years later, they found a crawl space beneath his house, and there, they discovered the truth. His real name was John Wayne Gacy. He wasn't a clown. He was a monster. They say this story is true, from a hospital in the Philippines. During the night shift in the ICU, a nurse named Edison pressed the emergency alarm. He said he saw a woman standing beside the patient's bed. When the staff rushed in, there was no one there, but every patient described the same thing. Long black hair, pale face, wearing a white gown, and her feet were soaked in blood. Later that night, one of the patients flatlined. The nurse ran back into the room and saw her standing in the corner. Security footage showed the woman entering the ICU, but never leaving. They say she was a patient who died during surgery and never left.